So, Taylor, thanks so much for coming out on a Sunday.
Absolutely.
I understand you grew up in Vernon and you've been living in Kelowna since you went to UBCO a few years ago. So, tell us how you ended up in Kelowna.
Yeah, absolutely. I get made fun of. I made the big trip down the highway from Vernon to Kelowna, but I went to school at UBC Okanagan and really loved my experience there.
Yeah.
And after that, I love it because I'm still close to my family who still lives in Vernon. I can go home for Sunday dinner at my mom's house if I want to. But I really love what Kelowna has to offer. I live downtown and I love being able to kind of experience the vibe in the city that Kelowna is now.
Yeah. I think you're the third or fourth person we've had from Vernon. So, and we've had a couple of people from Peachland and Lake Country. So I think once we hit episode 100, we're going to change it to I love the Okanagan. Because it's like, it'd be a little silly to say I love Kelowna, comma, Lake Country, comma, Peachland, comma. Right?
Totally, yeah.
So we love it all, but it's awesome. So what would you say is the biggest differences between Vernon and Kelowna, since you spent a lot of time in both?
Yeah, again, I think they're both cities, great cities. Kalamalka Lake's still my favorite place in the entire world.
It's so great.
Yeah. For me, the reasons work-wise, I feel like there's a little bit more opportunity here at the moment. Yeah. I mentioned I live downtown too, so I love the fact that I can go walk or run along the boardwalk and, I see a whole bunch of people. It's got a little bit more of that city feel that maybe Vernon doesn't have.
Yeah.
So great place to be from.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I sum it up. But yeah, I got a lot of friends and stuff in Vernon still, so.
Yeah, that's great. No, I lived downtown Kelowna for about 6 years, and it's just one of the nicest downtowns in the world. I've done a lot of traveling, and it's really great. So you've done quite a bit of traveling, too. You went to Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam. Tell us what that trip was like. Why did you go? Was it just for curiosity? And tell us what it was like.
Yeah, I've always been really big into travel. Actually, when I was attending UBC Okanagan, I did the Go Global program.
Right.
So if there's any students that are listening and you get the chance to participate in that Go Global program, I couldn't recommend it more. It was neat because you pay UBC tuition still, but then you're able to go study in another country.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I really didn't study a whole lot when I was over there. But it was cool because, like I said, I've always really been into travel. And then once I graduated, it was, before I got into the idea of full-time, consistent work, I wanted to go on a big trip. So I got together with a few friends and it was one big trip that was split into two separate trips. Mm-hmm. So I went through Southeast Asia for 3.5 months. So like you said, those countries through there.
Yeah.
That was an interesting experience. I loved pretty much all of it. The food, the people. I don't think I could do it again. Just with the toll that it took on my body for that amount of time. It was a lot of fun.
Did you have some stomach issues?
No, I just partied a lot. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, understood. And everything's very cheap there, right? Like
it is.
The booze and everything.
Yeah.
What would you say was the most shocking or surprising thing you saw over there? Culture-wise or food-wise?
Yeah, and that was, I jokingly say I partied a lot, but a lot of the cool stuff too was, people would always ask me, was it safe or what was that like? And I find the more and you could probably speak to this too, having traveled, people everywhere are pretty good for the most part.
Yes.
You've got your bad apples anywhere. The city of Kelowna is no exception to that.
Right.
But I really, really enjoyed the hospitality of local people, getting to experience some of those different areas. Obviously, sitting on the beaches and some of the weather that they have down there as well too. So, yeah, I absolutely loved traveling through Asia.
Yeah. So you were roommates with both Steve Morrison and Roz Huber, previous guests on the show. What are they like?
Yeah. So,
I interviewed them both, but what's it like living with them?
Yeah, it's funny. So it was actually both at separate times. So I lived with Roz when I was in university.
Was she going to university at the same time?
Yeah, she was. Yeah. So that's how actually I met both Steve and Roz through UBC Okanagan, similar interests, similar friends. I'm going to throw Roz under the bus a little bit here. I'm going to say Steve's definitely the cleaner roommate.
Really? Well, he was so sharp. We went to his office because he's so busy, right?
Yeah.
And, like, he's just so sharply dressed, and his hair and everything is perfect.
Yeah.
I had to give a shout out to his barber,
Dan,
in the
yeah.
post, because he's just.
Yeah,
he's
so no,
perfect.
they're both awesome people. I know you've had guests on that have done the November Project, and
Yeah.
that's something that I regularly do as well too. It's been talked about already, so I probably won't go into too much detail about it. But if anyone's listening, one of the things that I still hear quite a bit about Kelowna is that it's hard to meet people. Mm-hmm. So
Yes.
one thing I love about November Project is it's a group of people who are going to be there every Wednesday no matter what. Yes, it's a workout and you're going to go and but really the key to it to me is the fact that it's such a nice, supportive, inclusive group. Mm-hmm. I've met a few friends through that way, and I heard a cool story from someone who said, oh, you're new to Kelowna. They actually didn't do November Project themselves, mm-hmm. but they said, hey, go to November Project on a Wednesday morning. You'll meet some new people. You might find some friends there. So, yeah.
It's I've heard great things about it. I keep forgetting.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for the reminders. Eventually I will get out there. Do people is it mostly the same group going every Wednesday? I'm sure you have some turnovers. Some people drop off. Some people are new.
Yeah.
But is it like a good core that you see like pretty consistent?
Definitely, yeah. I'd say there's a core of 30 to 40 people that you can pretty much count on being there every week.
Yeah.
Obviously, the numbers are quite a bit bigger in the summer than the winter.
Yeah.
But it is every Wednesday throughout the year, no matter what the weather's like, at 6:29 in the morning. Mm-hmm. And it was really cool. Mayor Bazran, Colin,
he's pretty regular.
He comes quite often, and they just had November Project Community Day in the city of Kelowna.
Nice.
So Colin was there, officially declared it.
What's the community day? What is that?
So it was actually, Colin was there acting as the mayor. He's working out as well too, but he proclaimed it in the city of Kelowna in recognition of, the safe, inclusive, very community-minded thing that it is. He proclaimed it an official day in the city of Kelowna.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's so good. So tell us about this program, Codenoggin. Did I pronounce it correct?
As far as I know, yeah.
And what's that all about?
Yeah, so that's something that I've got involved with through my own work at Coast Capital Savings. Mm-hmm. So I'm involved, I volunteer with the Youth Get It Community Council.
Okay.
So in that role, one of the things being with a credit union is we're very community-based, right?
Right.
So it's actually mandated in our bylaws that we give 7% of our pre-tax money every year directly back into the community.
Wow, so that's everybody in the company.
Yeah, the company as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Coast Capital's focus has been on youth 13 to 29 is kind of where we've identified a need. And with that, I am part of this council that gets help to allocate our youth community investment grants.
Nice.
So one of the applications that I'd learned about and met with some people from the United Way was this really cool program happening in the Okanagan called Codenoggin. Mm-hmm. So really essentially what it is it's a United Way program, but they've got some great partnerships with Okanagan College, as well as Accelerate Okanagan, and they're trying to reach out to, one, fill a need for tech. That is, there's lots of jobs being in our emerging tech sector that aren't getting filled.
Right.
As well as there's some vulnerable youth who probably wouldn't fit. They're struggling in school because it's not their typical thing, but they've got some brilliant ideas and some brilliant minds and maybe some different interests.
Interesting. So with regards to tech, like if you find a youth who has some interest, will you recommend that they take courses or introduce them to tech companies? Like how does it work?
Yeah, so I would say get in contact with the Codenoggin group. All the information is on their website.
Right.
But the whole idea behind it really is, getting these youth connected with people who can help them in areas that they might be interested in.
It's like mentorship. And, connections, things like that.
Absolutely. I went and checked out, the one that I went to look at was being held at the Okanagan College Audio Engineering.
Nice.
Yeah, so I know absolutely nothing about this stuff.
Right.
I'm in finance, I'm a banker, this isn't my area of expertise. Mm-hmm. And I went there and just checked out one of the courses. So they had the head of the Okanagan College Auto Engineering.
So great.
And they were, just teaching them essentially, they were doing like electronic music.
Very nice. Yeah. We've got 2 engineers, students, that are helping us with this show.
Awesome.
Producing the show. So that's really cool. I don't think they're with Okanagan College, though. They're with Okanagan Center for Technology, which is, I think it's a different school.
I think so.
But it might be a subset of Okanagan College. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But we can edit that out.
I'll
figure it out. But you're also an advocate for mental health. And we've had some guests on recently that have written books on depression and so on. Counselors, tell us about your connection to the mental health situation and why you're so passionate about it.
Yeah, I thank you for asking me for that. I think it's something that just in general as a society, I think it's really exciting that we're starting to have a lot more of a focus on it.
Yes.
I think whether or not you struggle from mental health issues or not, I think we all know that we all struggle in some ways.
Yes.
My personal connection comes from, I have a sister who has had her own struggles. Mm-hmm. She's been very open with her struggles, and it's so inspiring to me that she's been able to be out there and kind of share her story.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of been a passion of mine because it's been a part of my life as she's grown up with this.
Right.
So I know that she's okay with me sharing the stories. That's the reason I am. Mm-hmm. But she is full on diagnosed as bipolar.
Okay.
So it's been, dealing with some of those episodes throughout time. There was periods in our life where it was a struggle both for her and for our family.
Yes.
And again, I'm so proud of the work that she's done and some of the awareness that's being made about it now, because she is doing amazing. She just ran the Okanagan Marathon this last fall here. I was there cheering her on. And there's a lot of organizations right here in Kelowna that are doing some really neat things as well.
Right. So let me ask you, is bipolar the same thing as what they call manic depressive?
Essentially.
Yeah. Are there differences, or is it just a different way to refer to the same thing?
Yeah, someone might be able to correct me listening, but my understanding is it's essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
So
tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Because I think it's fair to say that everyone knows someone that they care about that suffers, and a good percentage of people actually suffer from mental issues. And I think there's a huge stigma around it still. If you post on Facebook, like, I threw out my back, so I'm not going to work today, people are like, oh, you poor thing, can I bring you some soup and stuff like that. But if you're like, my mind's not right, or I'm depressed and I can't get out of bed, they're like, snap out of it.
Suck it up.
Yeah, suck it up, think positive thoughts, like, don't be lazy. There's kind of the brain is the most powerful thing in the universe.
Yeah.
And we don't really treat it with the same respect as we do with other body parts, right? So tell us, and so it's really great that you're helping to bring awareness to this. I've had family members that have suffered. I've suffered from depression. So tell us what is manic depression or bipolar? What are the symptoms of it?
Essentially, in my experience with that, it's the highs and the lows. So when you're manic, in a manic state, I've seen where she has been on the complete high of things.
Right. So you're like super excitable.
Yeah, really not rational, not making any sense. Honestly, I'm not talking to the same person that I know. I've learned by now, and actually, thankfully, she hasn't had any episodes in quite a few years. Mm-hmm. But there were periods where, I had to myself take her to the hospital and admit her. And so it's really these characters by those highs, and then, of course, what happens after you come down from that high is often there's an accompanying low.
Right.
So
where it's like a depression.
Yeah. And you'll do things when in your manic state that, again, it's not you, it's a mental illness that, again, you recover from. And so it's been an ongoing thing. And again, I'm so proud of where she's at right now. And, I think the biggest thing, and I'm really grateful that you're also promoting that as well, too, is the message is out there that it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
And like you said, whether it's yourself, whether it's family members, it's not an uncommon thing, but it's also something that's very hard to see.
Yes, hard to see. And what sort of treatments are there for it? So obviously we gotta be patient and compassionate with people who are suffering. But what does a sufferer do? Is it medication? Is it a therapy with a counselor or a psychiatrist? Like what are some of the things that they can do?
Yeah, I can only really speak from my own personal. I know medication is obviously a big part of it in trying to manage, what's going on in the brain, what's causing that. An absolutely incredible resource that we have here in Kelowna is the Foundry. So actually one of the really cool things through my work with that youth community council was they had actually applied for one of our grants. So I was a little biased, but I tried to step back, and they were full deserving of the work that they were doing there. And we were actually able to award them one of our community grants.
Nice.
So anybody who's listening, I would still always prefer, absolutely go to a professional, speak to someone, because there is lots of avenues to help.
Yeah.
What I love about the Foundry is if you haven't had a chance to go check it out here, they are doing some incredible work here focused on youth.
Nice.
Because really, there's a big gap right now before the Foundry open on how to get that help.
Wow. So the Foundry, what is that? Is that the name of it?
Yes.
The Foundry?
So it's through Canadian Mental Health Association. Okay. And essentially what the Foundry is, it's a one-stop shop for mental health.
Okay.
So someone can go there saying, I'm in trouble, I need some help, and they will get connected with every single aspect of the mental health. So
nice.
One of the things that I know they recognized was, there's might even a chance that this person hasn't eaten anything for a while, or they're coming from a situation. So, they've thought to every little detail on counselors, to family support, to, literally everything in the mental health journey. And they are doing, lost for words with the work that they're doing here in Kelowna. So.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of the movie, because you're pretty young. It's called Mr. Jones, and it starred Richard Gere. And I think it was like 1994. And the character, Richard Gere's character, has bipolar. And I did some research on that movie, and most people say it's pretty accurate. Now, everybody's different. Symptoms are a little bit different person to person. But one of the things that Richard Gere's character says in the movie is he's like almost addicted to the highs. Like he actually enjoys it. And people say, listen, you need to calm down. He would like jump on stage during a symphony and stuff like that. But he actually enjoyed it, and he didn't want to take the medication to like bring that down. And I understand that the medication kind of takes the edge off, so you're not so depressed and you're not so manic. But he said he actually really enjoyed it. Like he felt alive and like creative, and even though he was sometimes a danger to himself and to other people, he didn't want to lose that manic state. Did your sister say something similar?
Yeah, I could see that. I don't know if she would have known or recognized where exactly she was at, because again, but I could see when you're at that high, absolutely, you don't really know what's going on, and when you're at that level of a high,
you feel like euphoric, maybe.
Yeah, I could. Again, I'm only guessing, really, but right. I could for sure see how that would be something that would.
So, well, it's great that she's taking steps to treat it and to be open about it, because I think it's the stigma is the biggest thing. People know that they're not going to be judged and they can get help. That's a huge step.
Absolutely.
To dealing with it. So, tell us a little bit about why you love Kelowna so much. You've written a couple of paragraphs here. So.
Like I said, I moved to Kelowna, and I stayed in Kelowna because I really like the city that it's becoming.
Yeah.
I think both, as a young professional, there's a lot of opportunities that I really do see in Kelowna. I love the entrepreneurship spirit that the city has.
So you're in banking.
Yes.
Right? And what do you do there at Coast Capital?
Yeah, so A lot of listeners listening actually probably wouldn't even really know who Coast Capital Savings is.
Right.
We are Canada's biggest credit union by membership.
Oh, wow. So it's not just Kelowna.
No, yeah. So we're, like I said, we're the biggest by membership in Canada, but Kelowna is the only branch outside of the Lower Mainland and the island.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you've got multiple branches there and one here.
Yeah.
Where's the branch?
We are on Harvey and Birch.
Harvey and Birch. Okay, yeah.
So Brown Social House is the landmark that most people
Yeah.
associate it with. And
Right.
yeah, we, again, I joined there because I was a financial advisor at one of the big banks beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, the banks do some great things and they have some incredible people who do some good things as well too. But literally the purpose of the credit union is to, enhance our members' financial well-being and enhance our communities. And
Yeah.
that spoke to me a little bit.
Nice, very nice. And do you do like loans, mortgages, basic teller services? Like, what do you do there?
Yeah, I honestly, I do a little bit of everything.
Nice.
Our branch is one of the newer styles, so we actually don't have tellers.
I see.
Yeah, we're all trained to be able to do that stuff if we need to.
Right.
But yeah, the majority of my day is spent managing mortgages, investments,
Nice.
day-to-day banking, that kind of thing.
Very cool. It sounds like you're a great networker, or you're becoming one. And there's a book, I just started, an audio book. I can't remember who recommended it to me. But it's a few years old, but it's a woman who was very introverted, very shy, and she was 40 years old. She got a job that forced her to interact with people, and she became one of the top networkers in the country. She was one phone call away from the President of the United States.
Wow.
She worked directly for the governor of the state of Idaho. And so it's all her tips about who to connect with and how to, make connections and help people connect without coming across as a, pushy salesperson, right? So in real estate, that's always my concern. I want to connect with people, but I never want to come across as like I'm trying to sell something. So I'm going to give you that
Yeah,
book.
please do. I'd love to.
Awesome. And you also play soccer, and you're a board member for the soccer team.
Yeah, I've grown up playing pretty much every single sport around. Lately, soccer is the one that I'm still kind of playing on a team. So
Yeah.
I have a team here in the Kelowna Men's League, and then I don't do a lot with the board for Kelowna men's soccer, but there's an opportunity to have a little bit of say in how things were going, and so it's. Again, we live in an area where there's such a great outdoor playground, and
Yeah.
it's one of the things that I do to keep busy.
Right. And what do you do in the winter when soccer it shuts down with the winter, I guess?
Yeah.
And so what do you do to keep physically fit? November project, and you like to hike Knox Mountain?
Yeah, I get made fun of quite a bit. Any of my friends who are listening, especially from cities outside of Kelowna, I've been known to post the odd picture on top of Knox Mountain.
Yeah.
But again, I've lived here for close to 10 years now, and I couldn't tell you how many times I've hiked that mountain, and I still haven't got sick of it.
It's so great. It's
Yeah.
a great workout. It's like, if you're out of shape, it's really strenuous, but you can do it. And you can go as fast as you want. It's a good enough workout for, I think, any level of fitness, really.
And you know what, Luke? You actually just summed up November Project as well, too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So they don't force. No one's yelling at you like a drill sergeant if you need to stop and take a breath.
Not even a little bit. We've got people there who, more so in the summer, but even age range, we'll have 12-year-olds to 65-year-olds.
Wow.
We'll have people who are in great shape. We'll have people who are just getting back into shape.
Right.
So honestly, everyone's so busy with their own stuff too that other than maybe trying to give you a high five or give you a little bit of support, they really don't care what the person besides them is doing.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
just to reiterate, it's 6:29 a.m. Is it every Wednesday, and it meets down at the sales?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So every Wednesday morning, no matter the weather,
Yeah.
6:29 at the sales. If it's your first time, maybe show up a little bit earlier just so you can sign your life away and
Right.
meet some people before. But we'll be there.
Awesome. So cool. My 13-year-old daughter that you just saw briefly just came back from Africa. She did a 2-week safari with her mom.
Amazing.
and you grabbed a lion by the tail. Why would you do that? And how did the lion react?
Yeah, so I guess I'll say I'll do anything once.
Right.
So
Did someone dare you to do this, or
kind of, yeah.
had this idea?
So we were in a park in Africa, and these were domesticated lions, but they were very much real lions.
Right.
And the way they'd grown up was their handlers, they really thought of them as their mom and dad. Like, they had complete parent relationship over them. There's a few moments when I was going through where I thought, oh, you know, these things are just big cats. Mm-hmm. And then there's a couple moments where they do a pose or they'd make an athletic move, and you go, no, that's definitely a lion.
Right.
So we were walking along the path, and one of the handlers just kind of jokingly said, yeah, you know, grab its tail. So I thought, why not? And gave it a little tug, and the lion was totally, I think, again, it's kind of a cat, right?
Right.
So,
It's like a giant cat.
Yeah.
And it didn't like bare its teeth at you and say, you do that again, I'm going to end you.
no, but I didn't want to try again. So I figured I'd already pushed my luck once.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. Wow, I can't imagine doing that.
Yeah, I actually had the opportunity at the tail end of that trip. So what it was I went on a 3-month overland trip through Africa.
Wow.
So I started up in Nairobi. We had a overland truck with the driver, and then one kind of guide / person who made sure we stayed alive. And then we camped throughout. And so yeah, we did 10 countries in total. Made my way down through the East Coast all the way down to South Africa, Cape Town.
Yeah. I'm curious, are the countries very different from one another?
Absolutely.
Because we think Africa is Africa, but are they all like culturally different and visually different? And...
Yeah, even to, they're all just climately wise different. Parts of Africa obviously are a lot more prosperous than others as well too. It was neat though, like we were driving in this big yellow truck the entire time, and I quickly learned what Swahili for white man was.
Oh yeah.
Because we were going through some of these areas, and all I would hear was kids running up to our bus and yelling, Mzungu, Mzungu, Mzungu. So, you know, some of these areas they either rarely or had never actually even seen someone who was white, right? Wow. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, so anyone who's listening, if you've considered Africa, if you have concerns about it, I have no problem with you reaching out to me individually. It's kind of my mission now to get people to go there, because the people, the animals, everything about it is unlike any travel that you could possibly do. Mm-hmm. And I think another part of travel too is those people there, one, they're genuinely kind-hearted people, but they also know that if something happens in that town and word gets out that it's not a safe place to travel,
it's going to hurt them.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah, I was super worried about my daughter.
I would be too.
Her mom going, and I was thinking like kidnappings or something, and they were totally fine.
Yeah.
And they're smart too, so they weren't like, you know, they stayed with the tour guide and so on. But,
yeah, so some people might question my sanity already with grabbing a lion, and I did the great white shark cage dive down in Cape Town as well too.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Is the scuba diving pretty good there? Because I've been to, you know, I used to live in the Cayman Islands, and diving is amazing there. But is the diving good, or is it like big sharks, or what?
So I didn't do any I did some diving when I was in Asia. I did my PADI and got certified there. But in Africa, I just did the big cage where they put you in there and they chum the waters and they get the great white sharks coming up to you.
Wow.
So I didn't
Was
do
your
any...
heart pounding?
Yeah.
Was it more scary to be with the great whites or to pull the lion's tail?
I'd probably go with the lion, just because in the great white shark I was in a little cage and I felt a little more secure that way.
Like they couldn't get to you.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess it's a good question. I told my mom both those things after I was finished.
Yeah, and I bet she was like, "Why did you do that?"
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you're back safe, so that's great. Taylor, who would you like to nominate to come on the show in the future?
Yeah, so I think Blake Harper would be a great guy to have you on.
Great.
He's got an absolutely incredible story that I think I won't do justice even starting to describe, so I'm going to let him describe it himself.
So just tell us just a little bit about him as a teaser so we can
Sure,
look
yeah.
forward to it.
So Blake is dancing in Dancing with the Stars for COHA, Central Okanagan Hospice Association, coming
Okay.
up here. What's unique about that story, though, is Blake's in a wheelchair.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've come to know Blake. He's a mortgage broker here in town. Met him through personal friends, but he is a guy who, we talk about having bad days. We talk about things letting us get in the way.
Yeah.
He's a guy who makes absolutely no excuses. I'm going to steal some of his talking points, but we talk about scuba diving. I know he was one of the, I actually think he was the very first scuba person to be certified in a wheelchair.
Wow.
And yeah, he's dancing with the stars in a wheelchair. So he's a really cool guy. He's got a great story and doing some great things here in Kelowna.
Very excited to talk to him. And who was the other one?
I'm going to nominate Jagger Johnson. Jagger's a new friend of mine who is pretty new to Kelowna. A younger guy here in town who's got a couple things going on. He runs the Paddle Lifestyle, which is a stand-up paddleboard business here in Kelowna. And he's also busy doing a pool and spa business here as well. So
Nice.
when you talk about someone who loves Kelowna, I know he's the number one advocate for the city of Kelowna now, especially when he's sending pictures to his friends in December about the different weather conditions. So
Yeah.
be a great guy to talk to.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for those recommendations. It's really making this show great. It's really these nominations that is making the show so interesting for me and for the listeners. I get to meet so many amazing people that I probably wouldn't meet otherwise. So thank you so much for those recommendations. Thank you for the coffee.
You bet.
Thank you for your patience for the late starting today, but
That's
I really
okay.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I think it's really cool to have this platform here in Kelowna. I've recognized some friends that have been on the show already, and even some other people that, you think you know what's going on in your own city, but there's lots of things going on that it's great that you got a platform for people for that.
Fabulous. Thanks again.
Okay, thanks, Luke.
Luke Mankus is a realtor. He loves what he does. We asked Luke if he had any regrets about moving here in 2011, and he always says, yeah, one regret, and that is he didn't move here sooner. When Luke came here, he didn't know anyone. He didn't know the neighborhoods or anything or anyone besides his daughter, who was 6 years old at the time. So he knows what it's like. Now, he's an expert and has helped well over 100 single people, couples, families, and investors with their real estate needs in the Okanagan. If you're new to our beautiful city, Luke can help you get connected with great lawyers, dentists, carpenters, landscapers, swimming pool installers, you name it. And whether you're new to Kelowna or not, Luke knows real estate. He can help you find a great property, negotiate a good deal, and hold your hand all the way through the process until the day you get your shiny new set of keys. Luke is known as a no-pressure kind of guy. He's had clients where it took even a year or more to get them into a property. He just doesn't believe in rushing things. On the other hand, when you decide it's time to act, he's diligent and he'll work day and night until the job is done. Give Luke Mankus a call or a text message at any time. 778-215-4273. Again, that's 778-215-4273. 778-215-4273 to chat with Luke about real estate.